Okay.
Skål.
187 Danish members sent their greetings to the 100th anniversary.
Abbiamo un discorso internazionale.
È un discorso internazionale. Fa piacere che sei venuto in Italia.
Grazie.
Hai visto un po' la vita. Heb je volle nodig?
Nee. Hij is speling genoeg. Nou, als je nou nog eventjes wil doordraaien, maar heel voorzichtig ook weer. Je moet even borgmoertje. Ja.
Maar ik vind het ook vreemd dat er ook...
Nee, dan moet je hem in die stand, in de horizontale stand houden. Ja? Ja, oh.
Hij is goed. Vastzetten, uitproberen. Huppakee. Wie is dat?
Hello, I am Jiří Brátka from Czech Republic. This is my Ariel SG 1931.
A very rare model as regards aerials. They followed the fashion set by BSA back in 1928 with the sloper, and this was Ariel's answer to the problem. It's really following a fashion trend. The sloping engine down here, which means that the wheelbase has to be extended to accommodate the extra length of the engine. It's got 4 valves, 2 inlet here, 2 exhaust on the downside there, and we have 2 exhaust systems going into 2 ports in the head. This head, it turns out, during manufacturing was quite problematical because when it got old, the valve seats tended to crack between the valves. Here we've got a mag dyno unit, the lower part of which supplies the ignition, and the top one is the dynamo charging the battery to fire the lights up. We've got another typical fashion accessory of the period with a panel comprising the speedo, the oil pressure gauge, a fuel filler, and this lump in the middle is an inspection lamp. The hole there is for an 8-day clock. This is a 1931 motorcycle magazine from the Czech Republic. On the front cover it's actually featuring this model, a 1931 square 4. 500. The cycle parts are the same as the single that we just featured. But of course the major feature of this machine being a square 4 is the diminutive size of the engine, which is a 500cc 4-cylinder. It has a chain-driven overhead camshaft up here in this box. And again we feature the mag dyno behind the engine, which on this model gets overheated very quickly. Behind the engine, in semi-unit with it, is a 4-speed gearbox. Another unusual feature of this model is the forward-facing carburetor, which my fingers are on at the moment. This is a dirt shield over the air intake in an effort to stop stones and other debris being drawn in.
30. roku, 4-ventil, 4-ventil.
Scottish branch out in force. I mean, it wouldn't be the same without you coming down south of the border. How many here?
What you see plus another 2, I think.
Right.
A couple of honorary members somewhere.
Right. And then usually, of course, the area. So how long has the branch been going?
1977 it was formed.
77.
Yes. Originally we started off with 2 sections, if you like, an east coast and a west coast, but there wasn't enough members to sustain these, so we amalgamated and we now sort of meet in the middle of the country near a place called Broxburn. The branch is growing, going from strength to strength.
I can't resist one. This is a Norton frame with an Ariel engine in it. It's usually a square 4 they shoehorn into feather beds, but the leader panniers, I think they're quite magnificent. Did you build this?
I don't know.
Well,
Just to be different. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly different, all right. And the Arrow with the Yamaha engine, or have we got enough time? It does exist?
It does, yeah. I've had that a few hours. Yeah. It's an RD 200 ram engine in an aeroplane.
Derek, when did this Cardiff branch start? Everywhere I go, you appear.
Well, the Cardiff branch started in March 1959. We got our own branch badge and things like this.
Incidentally, it was funny last night because we've just got hold of a set of nutcrackers here, and I had to go all the way to Italy to get these, but I didn't manage to get them until I came back with our Italian vice president of the club, Ariel Azzurri, got these made up. I think they're steel castings, are they?
Yeah, they
Chrome.
look like, yes.
A very nice pair of nutcrackers. A special product in 1998.
They were issued to dealers or something in the 20s, I believe it was.
Oh really? So
yeah.
This is something of an original product?
Yeah, that is an original
A sales aid?
Yeah, yeah, sales aid, I believe it was.
Right.
And Ariel had them specially made.
Good for him. I think he had about 1,000 minted actually. 500 of them seemed to disappear amongst the populace of Serrano in May rather quickly. I think it was the Chamber of Commerce had most of them. Thank you, Stan Coupland. And over on this side, we've got 1898 to 1998, Ariel Centenary. That's a rather nice jersey you got there, Derek. They're specially minted locally, I take
Yes,
it.
I have them made for the branch for the members. Anyone else who wants them?
I see. And they retail at how much?
£15.
Is that cheap?
Reasonable for an individual.
I
And
see.
T-shirts are £5, so...
Yeah. I think I might relieve you of one later on.
White and pop engine, 3.5 horsepower, 500cc, with a very wide side valves. There's something like about 4.5 inches between the two valves. This was a feature of White and Pops before and just after the First World War, sorry. It's a belt driver, 3-speed. It was made under patent from White and Pop by Ariels, which it says here on this badge. This engine is before 22 or 23 because it has a valve lifter here. The later ones did away with that, and this mag drive chain case was set up slightly at an angle from 23 on up to 25 when they stopped making them. This is Ariel's own sprung saddle arrangement, which they patented before the First World War. It was used on most of their models except the sports versions of things. It's a 600cc White and Pop. These are the sports handlebars, which are fitted to all sports models of the period, compared to the high handlebars, which were standard fitting. That's an AKD engine, which was made by Abingdon King Dick.
So this is one of the very early B-twins with the AKD engine, because at this time Ariel weren't making their own engine, they were using proprietary engines with, in sometimes the covers with Ariel marked on it. So about 1919, Abingdon King Dick. Oh, these are the photographs apparently of when it was pulled out of a Welsh bog. I mean, what a magnificent effort to try and restore this. And look at it, new chain cases being cast. What else? You say you cast the chain cases?
Yeah, footboards, mag chain covers. The engine has all been repaired because it was rotted through at the bottom. Tank's been found for it, various other parts.
Hello Chaz. This is Chaz Ricecraft from the South Midlands branch, and you are the South Midlands branch, aren't you? Really?
Just about, yeah.
How long has it been going?
Well, I've been secretary of the South Midlands branch since 1983, so 15 years.
And when did it form, the branch?
I don't know. I think it was one of the quite early sections. I think it probably formed in the early to mid 60s.
Right, but these branches wax and wane, and it takes an enthusiast to try to hold it together.
Yeah.
Which is just what you've been doing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is my touring bike, 1954 Ariel, fitted with a period fairing to give comfort on long distance runs. Use it going to Holland, Germany. I'm going to France in a fortnight's time on it. The unusual thing is the fairing. You don't see not many have survived because they're quite fragile things, and over the years they've got damaged and thrown away. But of course it gives you a lot of weather protection, and that's why it's very good for touring.
It's a good working bike, and so many people restore these and get rid of the accessories, and it loses their character, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what I feel. It's
this is just oozing character.
It's mostly original, but it's not something I spend a lot of time polishing. I just use it.
Lots of stainless, I see.
Yes, lots of stainless. I'm afraid I'm into stainless heavily, so anything I make new, I'll make it in stainless. Obviously there are many things that you can't reproduce in stainless, things like the chrome clutch dome, and to be quite honest, chrome does look better on something like that because it polishes up more easily. But all these other small parts, things like this, have been made in stainless.
Hi fellow members, I'm Dick Warren. I'd like to introduce Big Jim Hunter from Canada. Welcome to the rally, Jim. What do you think of it so far?
Absolutely great. This is my 8th rally, and I've enjoyed every one of them, but I think this is one of the best venues that we've had, and certainly the weather is cooperating.
It's a pity you couldn't bring a bike of your own. How many have you got in the collection back home now?
Well, I'm down to 2 Ariels now, but out of a total of six machines. They're all restored and ridden regularly.
How many members in your branch?
We have an international membership. And we have about, right now, 28 members. It varies between 28 and 30. But the unfortunate thing is, due to distance, we can only meet at our annual rally once a year, and the rest of the time it's by telephone or by email. It's rather unique that a funny old motorcycle brings all these people from all over the world together in such a great venue as this. Actually, it's friendships that are first, and the motorcycling is second.
Just because I haven't. Well, that is absolutely magnificent. That's a KH 55.
Yeah.
And you restore that yourself?
I have not done the paint.
You've not done the paint, but I mean, there's a lot of work apart from just the paint here. And when did you restore it?
From 88 to 94.
A 6-year restoration?
Yes.
And you've been riding it since 94?
Only the summer months and when it's good weather.
And when it's good weather, yeah. Have you got a working bike for the winter?
Yeah, I have a Yamaha for the longer trips.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, a thing of beauty is a joy for everyone.
It was best in show in Eskilstuna, Sweden.
I'm not surprised. Magnificent.
And there was another Ariel second.
Oh, Ariels came first and second?
Yes.
Well done, sir. These are not just any old 3 bikes, are they? They're all... Go on, tell me about them.
They made 560 of them in 1953.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 here.
These are KHAs. It's the alloy version of the KH.
That's it. Yeah.
And the first one I ever saw was in Denmark, and here I come, and there's 3 of them together. That took my eye immediately. I mean, this is not a homespun amateurish effort. That looks pretty impressive. What is it, Bruce? 1953, the Ariels brought in an leading link Earl's front fork, which never went into production, and it was 53, what matches this 53 Wedgwood blue colour scheme. So it all fits, but of course it's on tellies now.
Yeah.
That's
the brake plate off the Earl's fork setup.
Right. Well, you realise, do you? I've got the Earl's forks in my possession.
I know.
And you know I'm not using it.
That's all right. No problem. Tom, gentleman here got some Earl's forks to sell.
Oh yeah, when my Earl's forks snapped, Ralph Hawkins said, well, you better have those prototype leading link front forks back again. And I've decided to go solo now, so I don't really need leading link front forks. But since you've got this, either you give me your front brake or I give you the front forks.
Yeah. That's valuable,
Well, we must talk again, because it seems a shame to keep them separate, doesn't it?
That if you're not using them as well.
Well, I'm not using them. Two or three pairs made, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And one was destroyed on the continent, and one's lost, and this one turned up at Bellevue. It's a long story, but basically, I came with Jack's like a cowl.
Oh right. That's right. Yes, I remember. They're a bit uglish, but they're reasonable. This is my favourite bike of all my own bikes. It's the same design as the Ariel. It's the same designer, the same guy. And basically that's a 1949, which is the same age as myself. Next year we're both 50, and we intend to go to Montlery to go around the circuit just outside Paris, which it did in 1949 on its birthday and my birthday. My son is using that one at the moment, a bike which I've had for 2 years, and unfortunately I've not used. I brought to the rally this weekend with the intention of selling, and the new owner is Sean O'Brien, Stockport. He's purchased this Huntmaster from me, which was originally owned by a good colleague of mine who unfortunately died. That is a 1958, the last of the 650. 59 was the last year for the 650 Huntmaster years, and I thought, well, somebody else needs to start using that. My favourite bike at the moment, which is in vogue, and I really enjoy, is the 29. The first year, obviously, for a proper oiling system, as we go away from the total loss system. It has a full-size oil box there, with its own oiling system. The previous bike of this era were obviously total loss system, and the engine components in the engine are not unlike the later 1959 bikes. In the many years that Ariel was built bikes, from this format the engine stayed basically the same. This 29, I acquired it 3-4 years ago now, in a similar condition. The tank is original, the paintwork is original. Apart from rebuilding the engine and various rebuilds on the gearbox, she's now done 4 Banbury runs, and it's a ride. It's a super bike. Unlike the 27, the previous, and 28 bikes, the oiling system was a sight glass with an oil reservoir here, which was burnt. The oil in one pipe does the complete job of 2 pipes. It is a total loss system.
Here's an Ariel that we've just stumbled across. It appears to be about a 1921. The engine is a whitened pop, which was featured earlier on. One obviously is in a complete machine. There's a 3-speed gearbox, it appears to be, with a chain primary drive and a belt to the back wheel. This one, you'll notice, has belt rim brakes fore and aft. So if we apply the front brake lever here, we can see that there's a shoe which goes into a rim, but of course it's totally useless in the wet. Again, on the rear brake we've got exactly the same sort of setup, although we have a pedal and a rod to actuate it here. On the lighting system, here we've got an acetylene generator in which is placed calcium carbide. There's water in the top of the tank here, and you adjust a drip feed to supply acetylene gas through the hose, and this one to the rear and the front. Here's the business end of the acetylene device, a little gas burner there. The reflector appears to be inside. We're just seeing a WD model now moving off.
Where'd they go?
Over that way, Ray. This actually is a 1912 TT model. It says on it. Again, on this model, being a sports job, it has a direct transmission, that's to say from the crankshaft pulley here onto the back wheel. 1 gear only. Here, another white and pop type engine with the wide apart valves, crankshaft pulley, driving a leather belt direct onto the back wheel here. No gearbox at all, direct drive, probably about a 3.5 to 1 ratio. The ignition is simply a normal Bosch HT magneto, controlled by this lever on the side of the tank. Again, you see the oil feed here, which is a hand pump, filling a glass on the side with an adjustable feed. Then you're one of the real riders in the club. Everywhere we go, you're there before us on usually the oldest bike, giving the least amount of trouble, it has to be said.
Yeah, well, one of the bikes I use the most I've had since I was 16 years old, so that's getting on for 50 years, 49 years. So if I haven't got the bike by now, I never will have.
And that's the one you used on our Italian trip, right?
No, I used a later one on the Italian trip, 1938. The one I've had originally is 1928. Bought that when I was 16. And funny enough, for the past 5 years I had nothing but trouble with it. The father was an Ariel with a sidecar on, and from the age of about 3 or 4, when I lived in Croydon, we used to go down to Brighton every Sunday, and I used to lie in this sidecar as a little baby, and I could almost remember every road junction by the time I was about 5 or 6, and that old Ariel thumping along, never let the old man down. I thought, well, this is the bike I'm going to have when I get older, you know. The problem is, you see, when you run several bikes, I got home from Italy and thought, that bike needs some work, I'll push it to the back of the garage, and in about 3 years' time I'll say, oh, I think I'll use the old Ariel, I'll get it out, and then I'll realise why I put it away. They've existed 50 or 60 years, they're going to go on forever.
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this, it's lovely. Just the way it should be. Not bodged, not messed about with too much.
No, not shiny, it's just a nice bike to ride. Owned by an enthusiast who knows what he's doing. Good looking man. No, there really isn't much wrong with it actually.
Well, you're talking about yourself, about a good looking man.
Yeah. If you want to know what's wrong with it technically, there's only the wrong back wheel, the wrong carburettor, and the rest is okay.
This is on the wrong place, isn't it? Let me go right.
So it's special?
Well, it's not really special. The only thing special about it is that it's mine. I'm the owner.
Start over there.
The motor was built by Frank Wilson. It's got his big ending in camshaft. BSA V50 piston. It's about 10 to compression, running on methanol. It runs in the Pre-48 class in the vintage racing. It's pretty competitive really. Right. My mum's diabetic.
So he bought it off a friend of his who was at an auto jumble. He bought it for him and then bought it off him. And it's been sat in the garage for 2 years.
See what I mean?
We'll have a cup of tea ready for you, alright?
In a minute. I can feel it is.
It would be nice to think it's really a
Air flyers gone?
Die geeft het tempo aan.
I did this on Monday. Powder coat it on Wednesday and put it on Friday. That's right.
On the back of someone. On our stove the bike, you know.
So, supposed to go back like that, you see.
Hi, David.